Yes. Hmm. Okay, so again, this is our second session, isn't it, Carol? So I've got Carol here. Carol's going to give us a presentation on our nervous system and how our nervous system interacts with stress and overwhelm in life. So over to you, Carol. Looking forward to this one.
Thanks, Nigel. So as Nigel there introduced me, and my company's Wild Orange. There's lots of hints and tips on the website if you'd like to go there. But I'm going to quickly go through some slides, but focus mainly on the autonomic nervous system and how it relates to our stress levels, our stressors, and how we cope with it on a day-to-day basis. So the majority of today, Nigel, I'm going to talk you through this slide. It looks complex, but when you break it down, it's a really great way of understanding what happens to our body when we're in fight or flight, or indeed if we're under the freeze state. I'll start in the middle with the yellow, because most people will understand fight or flight. It's when our nervous system senses danger and we automatically go into this fight or flight state, and that's called a sympathetic nervous system. It's a branch. You might recognize it as when you get stressed, you get fearful, you suffer from overthinking mind, any worries or concerns, and you'll recognize that on the right side of the flight. You'll see there that if we go into flight, there's some of the things and feelings that we have. Or you might be a fighter, you might get angry, you might feel irritated, you might get frustrated at certain things, or rage. A good one here is when we get road rage. When we get road rage, then our nervous system has been triggered into fight or flight. And then if you move across to the right hand side and look at the actual details that says, so if I'm in fight or flight, what's happening to my body? So you might not realize that when you go into fight or flight, your body will prioritize oxygen and blood to your muscles, your legs and your arms, so that you can run away from your danger. Because this is when our nervous system has a neuroception of danger, is when our body goes into fight or flight. And that's where we are when we're anxious, when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed. This is what happens. Your mouth may go dry because your body will prioritize not having extra moisture in your tummy. It will try and get rid of things out of your body, so you'll always need to go to the loo because it will want to get rid of anything it's carrying if you get anxious. It will also make your breathing different. If you're in fight or flight, your breathing will be shallower. You might not be getting as much oxygen to the parts that need it. And the interesting one here is, if you're in fight or flight a lot of the time, so it's normal to go here, it's a normal reaction, it's what our bodies do, but it shouldn't stay here, it should go back down. So whilst you're in fight or flight, you may feel a panic attack. So it's that breathing. You might get a headache because you haven't got as much oxygen to your brain. You may find that you will get headaches. Your insulin activity is decreased, so your blood sugars aren't as managed as well by your insulin activity. Your digestion is definitely impacted when you're in fight or flight. For those of you that recognize you might have acid reflux, you might have irritable bowel, you might have stomach ulcers, because your body won't prioritize digestion when you're in fight or flight. So when you're eating on the run, or you're eating and you haven't really got time, then your digestion isn't working at its optimal level because your body has prioritized the blood and oxygen to your legs and arms so you can run away. It also affects your blood pressure and your heart rate. You may feel your heart palpitating when you're in this state. And also it releases cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone along with adrenaline. So you'll recognize when you're in fight or flight. Some of you may flee. You'll want to run away and not have confrontation. And that's a state of the sympathetic nervous system. Or you may get angry. You may get irritated and frustrated. That's also the same branch of your nervous system. So if you look at this, it's a normal thing when we sense danger. It's something that happens from our reptilian brain or security guard, if you like to think about it like that. And it is normal to go here, but what's not normal is to stay here for a long time. It should be the start and the end of the green section. So green is when your body is in the parasympathetic nervous state. So that's when you feel safe, you feel connected, you feel grounded, you feel compassionate, and it's called the ventral vagal. So it's our vagus nerve that is in our safety. So you can be mindful, and in the present moment, you'll be in the green. And you'll know you're in the green when you're in the flow, when you feel quite happy, quite settled, your digestion increases, your resistance to infection increases. So your immune system is working at its optimal state, and it's called rest and digest. So when you're in the green, your body is resting and digesting, opposed to being in fight or flight, which is the yellow. The other thing that benefits here is that we have the oxytocin, which is a great hormone. It's a cuddle hormone or a love hormone. When we feel good, it releases a happy hormone as well, serotonin. So when you're in this state for most of the day, you will feel better. So the challenge is to recognize when you're in yellow, and you might stay in yellow for a few minutes or maybe half an hour. The challenge is to move yourself out of your yellow into the green so that you're feeling stable and you're feeling settled. I'll just touch on the red because the red is important in the sense that if you spend too long in fight or flight, so that means you're spending too long in an anxious state, overthinking, overanalyzing, rehearsing the future, you may spend a lot of time in yellow. And only you will recognize that. If you spend too long in yellow, your immune systems will not work as well. You'll get coughs and colds. And during this COVID, it's really important to keep your immune system working as well as it can be. If you spend too long in yellow, you may dip into red. And red, you might recognize as feeling a bit down, a bit depressed, a bit numb. You may not want to interact with anybody. You may feel a bit helpless. You might feel that life's too hard. And it's a real physical change because your body, your autonomic nervous system has gone into parasympathetic dorsal vagal complex, which is when your body thinks it's under life threat, when you feel trapped, prepared for death at its extreme. In nature, a mouse can actually put himself into freeze to avoid being killed. It will pretend to be dead. It will play dead. So a mouse could be not killed by an owl or a hawk. Often that mouse will actually die because it's put himself into this state, but it is a life threat. So it's dorsal vagal on the parasympathetic nervous system. And interestingly, your heart rate decreases when you're here. So your blood pressure, your temperature, facial expressions, your ability to be socially engaged, all decreases. So again, it's not that we don't go here. We often have down days. It's whether we recognize it and we can choose to have a duvet day, or we can choose to have a can't be bothered day. But knowing that you're there is half of the issue. Once you know where you are, whether you're in red or yellow or green, then you can move from yellow and red. Or in fact, by doing the things that you enjoy doing, you can stay primarily in green. So that's the initial thing, Nigel. I wanted to share that information. Do you have any questions?
Obviously, I'm fully aware of this, but I know a lot of people watching this will be thinking, "Why? How do we go up and down that ladder? How do we go up and down those steps?" Which I'm sure you're going to come on to cover. But no, that's clear for me, and I'm sure it's clear for the people watching this.
Brilliant. It is. It's knowing, it's recognizing it. So awareness is really important. So we know that doing things like physical exercise, and we know that eating well keeps us in our optimum level of our body is a great machine, and it's very intricate, but this is quite an easy way of sharing the nervous system. So I'll just quickly go through a couple of slides, Nigel, and these will be available as worksheets. If you want to look at your own stress levels, then you need to look at your physical and your emotional and your behavior. So you can use this sheet to tick the ones that you're either feeling, which is the psychological and emotions, your behavior. Are you becoming withdrawn? Are you becoming impatient? Or your physical effects? Do you feel more tired? Do you suffer from sleeplessness? Which means you're not in rest and digest. It means you're in the red or the yellow. High blood pressure and tension in your shoulders. So that's an easy way for you to try and work out where you are on the chart. And then the second one is, what is stressing you out? And you can look at this, and you can look at specific stressors, whether that's personal health, money. A particular one at this time is accelerated change. COVID's meant that we do things differently. We work from home or not. We travel, or some of our self-care events have been changed. We can't get to the gym. We can't get to yoga. We can't get out to meet our friends. So this particular slide is great for looking at what are your stressors, because once you've identified them, you can then make a plan, which is this slide, to cope better with it. So the whole purpose of this little presentation is to recognize where you are on the model. Are you in red, yellow, or green? What is stressing you out? And then how can you cope? So healthy strategies, of course, be physically active, because by being physically active, you release the endorphins and the good feel hormones. Eat healthy food. We are what we eat. Practice relaxation as well, so that we go into rest and digest. We don't want to live in yellow, or we'll become really ill with inflammation. Make time for fun and hobbies, or ask for help. Don't be worried about asking for help. What tends to happen is you'll recognize your unhealthy strategies. Are you overeating? Are you trying to do it all? Are you taking medication to help with stress? Do you overdrink? Are you isolating yourself? Or are you doing something else that's unhealthy? So really, Nigel, that's to explain the nervous system, how you would know whether you are or not, and what you can do about it.
Awesome. Very, very insightful, Carol. One of the takeaways I've got from that is the fact that you can self-audit yourself. You can go through this video and you can actually audit where your stresses are right now. So after this video, it's something I would probably say sit down and do. Some of you might have watched this video and thought, wow, you know, there's that's an eye-opener for me. But this is the good news. You can sit down and audit your stresses, where you are on that scale, and more importantly, put some healthy strategies in place. And maybe identify unhealthy strategies that you currently have in place and shift those. So do you smoke, drink in excess? Have you got a very sedentary lifestyle? Obviously, if you're working with me, you don't have a sedentary lifestyle. We're very active and we're eating the right foods. But these are just two areas we can impact on. Obviously, you know, look at this worksheet, make the most of it, and make the most of what Carol's given us, because this is just gold dust. Okay, Carol, thank you as always. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to our next session.
Thanks, Nigel.
Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.